Hi, admins of DBT Peer Connections Facebook group. This is a little podcast that I'm doing on my way back from my DBT individual session, and I just kind of want to talk to you a little about what it means to be a DBT mentor and kind of like what my philosophy is looking at peer support in the DBT context. And so I'm just kind of going to share with you my philosophy and my guidelines for my group, and then I hope that you will share with me your feedback or anything you might disagree with and whatnot, because ultimately I would like to see our admins team function more like a team than as me telling you guys what we have to do, because that's not very peer support like. So first thing is that I see our role as being peer mentors as our primary role is to help our peers validate their emotions and to get through crises without making them worse. So when people have problems in the group, our goal isn't to give them skills. We're not to tell them what to do or how they should feel or how to solve their problems. What's the most helpful is for us to look at whatever their problem is and then find the emotional response that they're having that's valid and then reflect that back to them. So like, for instance, if someone is having a problem with a family member, and the family member is totally, is calling them, as saying that they're manipulative and that they're totally messed up because they have BPD, then and the person is putting themselves down because the other person isn't, because the family member is, so they're saying they're right, I'm totally fucked up, and I should just get better, So our goal, rather than to tell them how to deal with their loved one or their family member, and how to communicate with them, rather our job would be to help them learn to validate the fact that, hey, it makes sense that you're upset because your loved one is not respecting the difficulty of your situation. They're judging you, calling you names, so of course you're going to feel angry or you're going to feel rejected. So it's more helpful for us to help our peers validate their emotions than it is for us to help them solve their problems, because ultimately DBT is there to teach us how to solve our own problems. So that's the main goal that I see our function as mentors within the group. Secondly, we are there to help provide definitions of skills. So if somebody wants to know what a skill is, or where it might be used or how we've used it before, then that would be something that would be very appropriate for us. Now this is an issue that seems to be coming up a lot with the admins, is conflicts within the group. So when two people get upset at each other, whether it's an admin and a member, or a member and a member, or an admin and an admin, it doesn't matter. Whenever there's a conflict within a group, there's a tendency for a member or somebody to complain to the admins. Okay, now that's totally welcome. That's valid, and we want to know if somebody's having a problem. However, our goal is not to fix the problem for them. We're not here to sort out people's differences, okay? In fact, being dialectical is essentially making a commitment to approach the things that make us the most upset and the most uncomfortable, with the goal to resolve them by approaching until we find a middle path to where we can synthesize the opposites of whatever the situation is. So if one person thinks somebody's being totally, dysfunctional in the group, and the other person thinks that they're not being dysfunctional in the group, so our goal isn't to find out who is right and who's wrong, and to push somebody and to punish somebody or kick somebody out. Our goal is to help the person who's making the complaint communicate with the person they're angry at themselves. So whenever there's a complaint, our goal is not to pick sides or to punish anybody. Our goal is to get the person who's upset and making the complaint to communicate with the person they're upset with. And if they're not willing to do that, we can't help them. And we need to make that very clear. You know, we cannot solve complaints unless the person is willing to communicate with the person they're upset with. Now, this is something that people do not like to hear, and they're gonna push at it, and they're gonna try to fight at you for it. They're gonna be defensive of it. They're gonna, you know, get angry at you for this. And we need to really stick by our guns on this, because conflicts within the group are the biggest opportunity we have to use our skills in amongst our peers, you know, in a place where we're not as likely to be judged, and where we at least are working with people who understand what we're going through, even if we are not getting along or we agree with each other. So complaints, we need to let people know that when they're complaining that, you know, we're there to help, to validate the difficulty they're having with the person in the group or with the group, and we're also there to help them communicate with the person that they're having a problem with for the goal of resolving the issue or communicating you know, their distress or whatever it is their goal of the complaint is. Okay. So, you know, we want to do that. Let me see, what else is there? We want to share our stories of recovery as a basis of hope. So we want to kind of be role models for our peers in the group who are maybe new to DBT, are still early on in their DBT path. So we want to share our stories of hope in a way that helps generate hope for others, and so that they can see that, yes, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, or yes, there is progress to be made in DBT, yes, there's a reason to keep practicing. Another thing we can do is when people are having problems and they want to problem solve, when we, you know, and they want us to give them, tell them what to do to solve their problems, rather than tell them explicitly what to do, we can share our own experiences of using skills, or how we may have used a skill in a similar situation in the past. And then, you know, so that they can get some ideas of how they might use them themselves. And as far as coaching goes, you know, I would prefer that we kind of stay away from one-on-one coaching, just because it takes so much skill. I mean, most therapists, I mean, even DBT therapists I know, struggle with one-on-one, you know, with people who have BPD. So to think that we as peers can deal with people who have BPD when we might be struggling with it ourselves is kind of, you know, a little bit unrealistic. I think if there's those of us who get certified as peer support specialists, or have some extra training, degree, whatever, in social sciences, psychology, whatever, then maybe we could talk about it. But I think that for now, if anybody asks you for coaching, please bring it to the group first, or at least bring it to the chat. Say, hey, somebody wants me to coach, and then just ask, you know, what the other admins think. You know, you don't have to get approval or whatever, but just make sure that you make a note of it to the admins, so that, you know, we know that you are engaging in one-on-one communication, because inevitably, you know, at some point somebody's going to not be happy with what, you know, what the support we give, and they're going to want to, you know, talk about it, and without the other admins being in the conversation, it makes it hard for us to get a real clear picture. So, you know, giving us a heads up of like, hey, this person is having a crisis, they want to have me contact them one-on-one, and this is why I think it's appropriate, then we know that A, you're being mindful of the fact that we don't really want to do coaching. B, you're checking the facts and finding out what, you know, justifying why you think they need one-on-one coaching, and then just letting us know who you're talking with, so that when it comes up, we go, oh yeah, that person, she was working with that, he was working with that person. So there's that. But ultimately, if somebody wants one-on-one coaching, I think we should always encourage them to open up whatever their discussion is within the group. And if they're reluctant, try to just reiterate the fact that, hey, we all in this group are dealing with various behavioral problems, so no one's here to judge you. You know, no one's here to share your information with anybody else. And the more input that you get, the more, you know, opportunity you have to have support, to feel supported. So, you know, whenever people want coaching, try to really, really push that they participate in the full group context. And then, you know, I'll look at coaching as a last resort, you know, if possible. I mean, I don't do a lot of one-on-one coaching at all. I prefer to do it in the group because that's the whole point of the group, for us to learn in a group context. There are a few people that I have or do work with on occasionally, but, you know, generally, you know, we are a group, so we try to keep it in a group context. Next thing, friending. So I prefer that we don't friend each other in the group. You know, unless if you're already friends with people in the group, that's okay. If somebody sends you a friend request, I either don't accept it, or if it's somebody who's been contacting me private messaging, then I'll just let them know that, hey, you know, I really appreciate, you know, having contact with you, and I just like to keep my communications with the group in the group. That way, you know, I can, you know, be most effective in my postings, because all of my personal postings that I post to my friends aren't necessarily relevant or really helpful for my peers, you know, in the support context, you know. So the only people in the group that I really think that the only people in the group that I encourage to be friends are people who are on the admin team, and that's just because we need to be able to chat with each other, and you can't chat with people who are on your friends lists. But for the most part, in the future, do not create friends relationships outside of the group. And this is what they would have you do in a face-to-face group. You'd be asked not to communicate with each other or have form relationships outside the group. So I think if we can try to stick to that as much as possible in our Facebook group, then that would be probably the most adherent approach to DBT. You know, looking at our group as being a kind of a derivative of the evidence-based group skills kind of thing. Let me see, what else? So as far as like issues with admins, so if there's a conflict between admins, rather than emailing one of the admins like me or somebody else in the admin team, please post all conflicts to our admins chat. That way everybody can read the same thing and everybody can comment on the same thing, and then everybody can participate in the conflict resolution thing. Because ultimately, you know, I would prefer that as admins that we strive to not ever take sides, and that when a conflict does arise between two admins, that the other people who are not involved, that our goal is to try to bring those people back together rather than fraction us. Because, you know, the whole point of my group, of me creating, not my group, our group, my whole reason for creating this group was to create community, as I want to build unity among people who have mental health disorders, because we're all hiding in the shadows, and we're all ashamed, and we all are isolated, and we're all alone. So, you know, for me, being able to come to the group and talk about, you know, the shit I go through with BPD is the most powerful and most, like, connected I have felt in my entire life, and it means the world to me. So if we lose anybody, I mean, anybody, I don't care who it is, it hurts me. It makes me sad. It makes me feel disappointed. It makes me feel like, you know, a little bit of my goal is being chipped away at. So I never want to lose anybody on the admin team. I never want to lose any of our group members. So I'm going to look for ways to prevent that at all costs. You know, I want people to stay in our group, and I want people to join our admin team, and I want people to be connected and to start feeling like they belong to a real community. And part of doing that is like sticking together even when the shit gets deep, pardon my French, but you know, and believe me, you know, we've seen it in our own group. It gets deep because when you're dealing with people with BPD, we are very, very emotionally sensitive. So it's kind of like if one person gets triggered, it's like we are looking at a possible domino situation where it's like a chain reaction or like a string of firecrackers. So, you know, as admins, really, you know, being willing to stick with the conflict through the conflict is going to be our most challenging and our most important skill that we, you know, need to work on together so that we can hold the group together even when things get really, you know, hairy between people. The next thing I wanted to just talk about was, deleting posts and blocking. So, the only posts I ever want deleted are if they're spam. You know, we get sunglasses ads sometimes. Those are the only ones. If somebody reports a post to you, don't block it. Don't delete it. Make sure it stays back on, because anything that creates a conflict, we must look at as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity to use our skills, an opportunity to expose ourselves to distress and use our skills to tolerate the distress. You know, this is, you know, the group is supposed to be a place where we can practice our skills, and if we're all getting along, we don't really get an opportunity to practice our skills. So, you know, we have to try to look at conflict as not just something that's going to bring our group apart, but as something that's going to help us make us stronger if we're willing to, you know, stick with it no matter what. And, you know, and that's what I'm hoping that I can get from you as admins is that commitment to stick with me no matter what, because I need you. You guys are so, so important to me and the group. And, you know, because I'm not on the group like every single day, like some of you are, you know, you are essential to the identity of our group. I mean, people rely on you. They look forward to seeing your posts. And so your day-to-day contact is really the lifeblood of this group. And you know, I mean, I can't even begin to express the appreciation I have for all the dedication that you have all had in being leaders and, you know, being there for your peers without anything in return. That's an amazing thing, and you are amazing people, and I love you guys. I really do. You inspire me. You give me hope. You give me motivation. I mean, you really are an important part of my life and a really important part of my DBT growth and success. So, you know, I just hope that you know that even when things get rough, that I'm not ever judging you. If anything, I'm just always looking for ways to make sure that you stay with me, even, you know, when things are difficult, you know, because I'm not here to judge you. I know you're not perfect. I know people are not always going to be happy with the way that we handle things, and it's hard to always be hearing people complain and only getting, you know, appreciation sometimes, if at all. So, you know, I get that you're going to get burned out, you know, and that's part of the function of the consultation team, is to help each other not get burned out, to help each other make sure that we're validating ourselves, that we're not, that we're adhering to our values and the principles of DBT, and not really, the consultation group is not really there for us to really talk about group members or, you know, try to solve their behaviors. It's to help us cope with the fact that it's hard to be leaders and peer leaders, you know. Then let's see, what's the next thing? Privacy. So this is kind of a basic thing that I think everybody knows, you know, don't share names, stuff like that outside the group. With the exception that if we do have one-on-one or anything, you know, we do need to let let peers know if they contact us with a complaint or anything like that, that what they do say may be discussed within the consultation group of the admins, but not outside of that. So, you know, admins, you know, may share information in regards to complaints or one-on-one contact with members, but it will not leave the group. It will not leave the group. So there's that. And also give them the, you know, so make sure that you let them know that. Last thing is training. So I really would like to, you know, I'm finished. I have one research project that I'm finally getting my approval for. You know, I'm technically kind of graduated right now, but I got an extension to finish my thesis because I never got to do the actual experimental part. So, you know, there's that. But in the process of creating this, I'm already forming my second research project for when I get into grad school. And that is, as I would like to create a clear training process and a clear certification process for certifying peer support specialists as DBT peer support specialists. And I'm hoping that you guys will help me, you know, develop the training program and work and be my test model for helping me, like, you know, implement that training. Because once I get the training program, you know, outlined, I'm going to send a proposal to the Linehan Board of Certification and propose that they add DBT Peer Support Specialist certification to their roster of accreditation options. But of course, this is going to be 2, 3, 4 years down the road. But right now, what I would like to do is I'd like to get to where we're meeting on a weekly basis for a consultation team meeting. You know, generally, like if we were on a DB team and we were therapists, and we would be meeting once a week for 1.5 to 2 hours. So if you guys are willing to do that with me, please, in the DBT or Peer Connections admin chat, let us know when during the week would be the most convenient for you, and then we'll work out a set time every week where we will all be online and we can do team consultation. Now, I don't know if everybody's got a chance to look at the team consultation documents that I adapted for peer support specialists, but if you haven't, we can go over those like at our next consultation team meeting. But generally, there's four roles that are significant in the consultation team. There's a group leader, which rotates, and you know, I figured I would just take the lead for the first time since I'm the group leader, and then, you know, as we get comfortable, we can rotate that so that you know, you guys can each be group leaders and we can all take turns rotating as group leader. Then we also need right now we only have 4, so all of us are going to fill one of the roles. So we need someone, and since there's only 4 of us, I figured we could just volunteer. You guys can volunteer of what you want to do. So then we also need an observer. An observer is somebody who is being mindful of, you know, when people are being judgmental towards themselves or others, when non-dialectical thinking comes up. There's certain general criteria that we'll go over that are on the handouts, and then usually the observer, when they notice these things, they ring the mindfulness bell. Well, since we don't have a mindfulness bell and we're like going to be working on online chat, I figured whoever decides to be the observer can choose like a Facebook sticker that we could use instead of the mindfulness bell, and then so whenever they post that sticker, it'll be a reminder to us that, hey, we need to be mindful, we're getting off base, whatever. So one of you please volunteer for the observer, and then we also need someone to volunteer to be a note taker. Now, since all of our stuff is going to be in chat, we're going to have like a full perfect record of what is being said. However, the note taker, I think their primary function will be to help us, who will outline an agenda before a meeting, and then get the agenda to all of us, all the admins before, so that we can look at it and like add things if we need to or not. And then also to, after the meeting, sum up the main points that we went over, like, okay, we did this. And so whoever volunteers to be the note taker, I will give you the sheet that you need for the agenda, and then we can talk about, exactly what you need to do for, the pre and post note taking. And then the last function is the, now it's not coming to, what's the last one? Observer, note taker, group leader, and okay, I don't know what the last one is, but we will get to it once I get back to my house and out of my car where all my notes are. But anyways, that kind of is like just a general idea of what I see as our role as admins are, what I think our functions are, what our duties are, where my philosophy is. And of course, since we are a team and this is not a dictatorship, if there's anything that you fundamentally disagree with, or if there's something that you think we should do different, please, by all means, I want to know what you think. And if you disagree, I am so open to hearing what you have to say, and am willing and wanting to, adjust and shape, our understanding of our roles, so that we can be as clear and as consistent and together and unified as possible, and that we are, maintaining adherence to DBT, embracing all perspectives, and being inclusive, so that the most people out there who are interested can participate, and that we reach the most people, and that we are being all the DBT we can be. So I guess that will be it for now. Please post on the admin chat or in our admin group any thoughts you have on this podcast, and or any questions you have, and I will follow up on them. So thank you for joining our admin team. You are awesome. You are wonderful. I love you, and I could not run this group without your awesome help. So thank you so much, and we'll talk again soon.